it's Chris here, and I have to turn in my stuff pretty soon here and be all said and done. But I want to put together this little video to help you all as you move forward with the asset analysis project for next month. A couple things still to keep note of. This is by no means a perfect process. It's the first of its kind for this team, and what I had to do during the summer was figure out the different types of platforms that I had to draw from to get the data, and then I had to figure out the formats for the databases / Excel workbooks that all the data was going to be housed in for everyone to use. Then as I was still sort of fine-tuning that a little bit, I had to hand it off to Arlene. Arlene has great enthusiasm and was a quick learner on some stuff, but I think altogether there were a couple of shortcomings, and I think that I found some inaccuracies, minor, but some inaccuracies and some formatting errors with the couple of reports that she was charged with. But moving forward, I think you're very well set up for success. Again, I think it's been great that me being the original author have been able to step back in here as the quarterback for this month's report, and then help pass it on to you. So I think one of the things that I just want to try and continue to press on is like where the data goes, because I think you all are very familiar with how to gain the data from Sprinklr from Adobe Analytics. So we have our shared Sprinklr folder here, and this one, Tom shared two, should have shared two with you. We have the Data Protection Marketing Assets Analysis folder here, which is like the go live folder. Like this is where the reports go that are ready for everyone to view. This is what we share out with all the PMMs and they access to gain the data they need. Then we have the working folder, which we use to house everything throughout the month, and then we transition it once we have the finalized products. We transition it over to the Data Protection Marketing Assets Analysis folder. So I'm in the working folder right now, and I've set you all up with a folder for January. So again, I might recommend you change up the labels a little bit, because while it's the January report, it's not containing any data that has to do with the month of January. It just tells you all the data for 2015 from the month of January, meaning January 2015, through December 2015. And just to get you started, and for purposes of this demonstration, what I have done is essentially put all the products that were used in the December report into this folder, which will help you build the next round, obviously. So there's the two main steps that or two main roads of this process here. One is that you got to insert the data that you gain from Sprinklr and Adobe Analytics, and then two, make sure it updates in all the necessary workbooks, and then make sure that all the charts, graphs, etc. are updated and well formatted. So just for instance here, so what you'll see here is this is the group of reports that Arlene had downloaded in December, which contain all the data up through November, and these were from Adobe Analytics. So what you have here is, we'll just go with the cloud, because you guys are cloud, and you've seen me do this a little bit before. We've got all the URLs, all the views, all the view data here. I would just simply copy this, and where I would put it, the most important sort of pillar to the whole reporting scheme as it's structured right now is our master all views workbook here. So click on here. Okay. And again, just to orient you real quick, we've got the tab that starts up, which gives us some pretty high-level views on the statistics for the month. Then we go into the summative sheet, which houses absolutely every asset that we've been asked to track. and it has it the statistics here out by month. And then what drives that are these back tabs here. So what you would do in the December tab here is you would simply paste those listed assets and their visit numbers right here. So I did not actually copy those from the cloud Adobe Analytics download, but you would, and then you would paste it here. The URLs would come down here, obviously, the visits would come down here. What you'll want to do, and you'll see how it's modeled on the other spreadsheets, you'll want to go ahead and what I say is sanitize the URLs so that you don't have to deal with any issues with whether it was HTTPS or HTTP or any other issues like that. Now, please note that I don't do that for all of the assets. You'll notice that YouTube assets do not get that treatment because it's just not necessary. And then for some reason, Arlene changed to having blogs just appear as their names and not the URLs. I'm not sure I totally understand the logic behind that, but those are what you'll not see in the shortened URL format. And then what also doesn't get the sort of sanitization treatment is the inside EMC URLs. So essentially, you go through each of the reports here that you download from Adobe Analytics, and you would click on each one, just grab up the group of URLs and their related visits, and then you would plug them in here. This drives our friend over here, the summative sheet. Okay. And what I'll do right after I get off here is I will make sure that the necessary formulas exist in this column right here, so that when you all paste that data, the formula is basically telling Excel, hey, if you look at this here, this indicator here for NOV 2015, or in the next month's case, DEC 2015, go to that name, the name of that particular tab, all right, and then go seek out this URL. And so if it exists on the tab, it'll then move forward with reading the visits, and it'll post it. It'll populate that number right in this column. All right. So that is one of the biggest crucial steps to sort of setting the foundation to getting everything quote unquote right moving forward. What else is important to talk about right now is you'll see, as you're well aware, we have the individual. Let me backtrack for just a second. Of course, you would also do the same thing that I just described to you with the YouTube data that you download from Sprinklr. So you would get that, and you would copy and paste those URLs and the view data into the tab, the date tab within the Master All Views workbook. What then that drives, and you've heard me say this before, is I'm opening up this singular product, in this case the cloud, singular product workbook that has data just related to the assets for, in this case, the cloud. So you have a summative sheet here just for the cloud, okay? And these formulas are driven off, gain their values from the back tabs right here. And these back tabs right here gain their values. They gain their values from you can see here, they gain them from they gain them through the master all views workbook that we were just in. Okay, so that's why getting that particular worksheet within that particular workbook is crucial, because then it drives all the back tabs on these product workbooks that are associated with all these venues. And then that drives the summative data that a PMM can look at here as they open up their particular the workbook that's dedicated to their product. Then, of course, we have pivot tables and graphs that are made from pivot tables, which helps to give a sort of an overarching understanding of how their asset usage is trending. Now on to a couple more details that I don't think I've hit on prior to this. So what we still provide and it's actually, I should keep that cloud workbook open, is that soon after like my first round of this project, it was made known to me that, hey, we'd like to see how we're doing against our performance in 2014. So I had to get a big, I took a big lot of data from especially Adobe Analytics for every month of 2014, and what I did is I put it in its own I put it in its own master workbook. And so that needs to be, at least to this point, it's needed to be carried forward to every month's folder in order to allow proper linkage to occur. So if I open that workbook, even though this is all static information, the way I set it up, and it's something that I think is one of the first things you might look into changing, even though this is static information, it drives the metrics that you see for 2014, which appear on the individual product workbooks. And I don't need to zoom in here. You can see that. You can look at this on your own, and you'll see how it's comparative in structure to the 2015 Master All Views worksheet. But what this does is it drives. Let me bring back up the cloud here. It drives right here. It drives. These are all cloud assets that were asked to be looked back into their performance in 2014, and that drives this summative here, because you can see we've got, how did it perform in EMC.com in 2015? How did it do in 2014? And you get that comparison then in the roll-up here available on the dashboard. So I think that's been super cool to see. I mean, right here, you can notice that even though we're only through November in 2015, we've got, you guys, the cloud team has over 200 more visits to their collateral that's on EMC.com. So what I think could probably happen is that you make a change, because again, the 2014 data, I don't even know if you'll usher it in for many of the subsequent reporting periods, because you'll be maybe comparing change your baseline to 2015 data. But realize that it's static, and so this whole notion of it needing to live in a separate tab on each product workbook and draw from the summative 2014 data is a little bit much of a rigmarole for me. It seems like it's too many moving parts, and that could be reduced. Speaking of moving parts, the other thing that I haven't talked to you gentlemen too much about is how we do a comparison. This was another one of the things that was asked of me after my first or second round of this project. It's like, hey, let's take a look at our audiences and see how we're doing in terms of EMC employees visiting and viewing our collateral and the rest of the population. So that is enabled through Adobe Analytics, and you'll see once you get accustomed to our dashboards on there and reportlets, you'll see, as I explained in a call the other week, there's two different sets of reports. One is for just the ones that gather the data from EMC employee visits to the assets, and then the other set is for all visits to those particular assets. And similarly, what you need to do, and this is where it sort of gets cumbersome, and this is Arlene's all views folder. We don't want that. But you can see here she made a separate folder. This is what she downloaded for just the EMC employee views. And if we click in there, it's similar to what I began this video by showing. You get the data from Adobe Analytics. You're gonna copy this, both the URL and then the number of visits or views. Then you're going to go. I've got to throw open here the EMC employee visits workbook, which again is also similar in structure to the regular master workbook. And what you're going to do is you're going to go to the requisite tab. In this case, there'll be a December tab here, and you'll paste the URLs and visits there. What that does then is it drives the values here that you can see, and that helps to produce some of the outputs here, which gives you a very good awareness of how the assets are trending in terms of viewership, visitorship by EMC employees. You can then leverage these numbers in comparison with the numbers that you have here for the total all views, and that puts together some nice findings. Here's how I have the two compared in a couple tables to drive this graph, which was requested. I put in the monthly slide deck. That is pretty much some of my main points here. I'm just assuming that you guys are well versed in some of this stuff. You spend a lot more time at EMC than I have, and you're very familiar with the platforms like Sprinklr and Adobe Analytics. I think you'll find your way just fine. And it'll just take a little bit of time going off of this video, using your notes from that you might have taken during our calls in the last couple of weeks to really understand how all the sheets are connected, and then where all the data has to go. And just doing this one last time, I've already said it, but I guess I'll say it again. It's worth mentioning again. There is some ways to sort of trim down some of the processes here, to maybe have less reports needed to be pulled down from Adobe Analytics. Maybe you can just keep as a static sheet the 2014 views and find different methods to exercise the comparisons. But that's pretty much it, guys. These will all be set up here with a December column with the formulas transferred over, ready for data to be inserted into them as I have prescribed and explained. And then the other thing here is, this is not something we used to send it out. I think it's maybe grown too big, and obviously there's ways to reduce image size, but this is something that especially like the director level leadership likes to see. So you would use your findings for the month, and take these high level findings that you gained, and many of those I use. Many of them come from this all views, our master workbook, and those are reported here, so that you can so that again director level and above can kind of have some of the higher level once over the world awareness. You have to get with Tom. We've got the VLAB data here. Drew there's some restructurings with the technical marketing team. I don't think this any longer will be a part of the report. So that's about it, gents. Again, everything's going to be set up here in the January folder, so it can be really plug and play. But you might also find it very helpful to make some modifications here. If you have any questions, Tom's got my contact information, but I'll just throw out my email. It's my full first name, Christopher.demo@bc.edu. And I'm just going to glance over at my notes real quick. And it certainly seems like I have covered all the topics that I was looking to cover. So best of luck. I'm sure you guys will kill it. It's great getting to know you and be a part of the EMC, DPAS marketing team for the last several months, and it was great to have the initial push with this project, and I know you guys are going to even bring it to another level. So good luck and Godspeed.